What's up, YouTube fragrance family? Tommy with Studio Sense here with another video review of a fragrance that has been around for a while. And finally, today I'm going to give you guys a full-on review. So when we come back, I'm going to ask the question and answer the question, is CH Men Prive just another signature scent, or is it a masterstroke of a fragrance? Hopefully give those of you that have had the fragrance for a while a fresh take on it, and introduce those of you who have never heard of it, introduce you to an iconic fragrance. That and more is coming up, so stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. So today we're talking about a fragrance that has been on the market for a little over 6 years, definitely garnered a lot of attention, and for very good reason. The fragrance to which I am referring is a Carolina Herrera fragrance. When they kind of revamped the CH Men line and the CH Men name, they wanted to spin it a little bit more accessible, and they definitely wanted to go down the road of seductive. They wanted something to be very sexy, but what they didn't count on was that CH Men Prive would become bad boy in a bottle. Now, of course, they released a fragrance called Bad Boy, and that's not at all what I'm referring to. This, to me, is the OG bad boy, at least in the CH Men line. But what makes CH Men Prive a badass fragrance? Just like we use fragrance nowadays to kind of advertise the persona that we want to portray, the idea behind this fragrance is someone who is extremely confident. Of course, that's behind every men's fragrance. This one has kind of a seductive role because of the components of the fragrance. I tell you what, let's talk about a little bit about the note breakdown, and that'll give you kind of an idea of where the fragrance is headed in terms of how people view CH Men Prive. Carolina Herrera's CH Men Prive features top notes of whiskey, grapefruit, and pomelo or pomelo, with heart notes of cardamom, frozen lavender, sage, and red thyme, resting on a base of leather, tonka bean, woody notes, and benzoin. It had me at whiskey, leather, and benzoin. Probably had you too. If you've got any kind of association with fragrance before and fragrance notes, what they're like in a fragrance, this fragrance is a woody, boozy, smooth, creamy, slightly sweet, only lightly sweet masterpiece of a fragrance. And when I say masterpiece, I mean within the domain or realm of being crowd pleasing and head turning and compliment pulling. It will actually turn heads for a very specific reason. It's the kind of fragrance that when you think of historically the term badass, you might think in terms of prominent figures in movies, TV, music, like Elvis Presley, James Dean, Will Smith, Brad Pitt, aka Tyler Durden in Fight Club, Frank Sinatra of the Brat Pack. I mean, it depends on what era you grew up in as to who you might think in terms of this is the kind of fragrance you think of them wearing on a regular basis, just because of the way that people perceive them as being smooth, charismatic, cool, seductive. For the top notes, they've got grapefruit, lavender. For the heart notes, they've got cardamom and whiskey. And in the base, they've got leather and vetiver. In all likelihood, you don't have whiskey in the open. You've got whiskey in the heart. Usually whiskey is a heart note or a base note. As an open note, it's an introductory note and then it dies away. This, because whiskey lasts throughout the life of this fragrance, it's definitely in the heart. And that final combination of vetiver and leather in the base is the penultimate pairing. Of course, surrounding that as supportive roles, you've got that benzoin and tonka bean, and that's where the sweetness comes from. And it's a perfect balance of sweet and strong. It just does such a great job of representing you. You're not going to take that seduction that is oozing off of you, that charisma, and you're not going to abuse it. You're going to use it rightly, as a real man would, right? And that's basically the premise behind, or at least that's the premise that I get out of CH Men Prive. It opens with that zesty grapefruit, pomelo, and then you get a little bit of hints of that frozen lavender, which is just kind of like a cool lavender sensation. Cardamom, sage, and red thyme are just the spices that kind of evolve and introduce you into that warm, sweet benzoin and that rough, resinous leather. It's rough, but also smooth. It's never too rough. This fragrance is never challenging. It's people-pleasing, performs really well. The recommendation on Carolina Herrera's website is Privé. It's going to be primarily for nighttime wear. Now, I happen to agree with that because it's going to make a great date night fragrance. Now, they don't mention any kind of specific season to wear it in. Of course, they want you to be using it all the time because it's a signature scent. But primarily, I feel like the best season for utilization of this fragrance is going to be fall. In terms of longevity, I've never had a problem with Privé. It's not what I would term a banger, but I get a really good 6+ hours out of this fragrance. I've heard people say that it doesn't have good longevity for them, so I'm going to just say that it depends on your body chemistry, how it reacts to the fragrance as to how long it's going to last for you individually. But for me, I get a good 6-7 hours out of the fragrance, and it does project very, very well. I've had people notice it on me very easily hours after I've applied the fragrance. This is one that you're going to want to put on pulse points. If you're vascular, you'll be able to see your veins in your, the crook of your arm, places on your arm, your pulse points. Kind of doing this in reverse because I typically talk about the presentation. I haven't yet talked about that. CH Men Privé was created after the idea of a flask. Kind of the idea behind this, it's got a really cool, now typically a flask has a static lid that has no movement, it just opens and closes. This one has quite a bit of give. So it's got a little bit of give with a dual latch on it that makes it a lot easier to open and close. The top part is a plastic cover that sits on top of glass, and it's got a little separation here, and it's the bottle itself is slightly curved, so it fits really well in the hand. It feels really good. It will slip in a pocket. This is a 100 ml bottle. It is an eau de toilette concentration, and it comes in 150, 150 ml sizes to kind of meet your specific needs. It's got the CHHC logo. The theme or color is black and gold, and then of course clear glass, and the juice is just lightly yellow. It kind of puts you in mind of either wood or whiskey, or a combination of wood and whiskey, which is appropriate because that's what you get mostly. Wood, whiskey, and leather, and a little bit of vetiver, which makes this an elegant choice for any date night, any night, really any time, specifically in cooler weather. One thing you'll notice if you're browsing online long enough, you'll notice that there's an CH Men Privé Eau de Parfum out there. Is there actually an Eau de Parfum version of CH Men? The answer is no, there is not. There are a ton of misprints out there, and they even make it look different, like they darken the juice to make it look like an Eau de Parfum. Don't know why they do that. There is, though, technically a Eau de Parfum version of CH Men, and it is called CH Men Grand Tour Limited Edition. I feel like this is the closest to a Privé Eau de Parfum that Carolina Herrera will get, unless they decide to get creative and produce something like that. I think people would love it. I think they would respond really positively to it. But this, it carries that leather note just a bit farther. It darkens it up. It gives it some old world style feel, kind of a retro vibe to it in a very positive way. If you really like Privé and you want it to be an eau de parfum, a little bit darker, denser, sit heavier on the skin, CH Men Grand Tour is the way to go. Well guys, that's it for my review of CH Men Privé. I think it has set a standard for men's fragrance when it comes to sexy, seductive, and bad boy. If you do own Privé, I'd certainly love to hear your experiences in the comments below. Again, thanks so much for stopping by and checking out today's video review. As always, thank you so much for your support on my channel. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you tomorrow.